Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. I am so excited for tonight's episode, but please grab what you need to get comfortable and cozy, and we will see you back here in about 30 seconds. It's the middle of the week. It's 7 o'clock Central, so that means we all get to hang out. And I am really excited to hang out tonight because joining me is the incredible, the amazing, the talented, the author of so many books, Tina Beene. Hey, Tina.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that we get to hang out and talk. Yes. But I have to brag on you for a second because I have read all of your books and I'm kind of a hardcore fangirl of all of your books. And many people know, if you are watching this and I've been in your school district and you're a secondary teacher especially, you probably recognize all of these book covers because I will bring these with me everywhere because they're so good.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm so pumped. Oh my gosh, there's so much that we can get into. But for those folks who might not be connected with you yet, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and all the things?
Right. Yeah. So I started in bilingual education about 20 years ago in North Texas. So I'm still in Texas, but I work, of course, across the country, and I get to work with districts, in completely different places. This last couple of weeks, I did virtual sessions in Maine and Pennsylvania and Alabama. And I got to do a lot of traveling when I was a SideLits consultant. So I started as a bilingual fifth grade teacher in Texas 20 years ago, and then became eventually a SideLits consultant, and that's where I wrote my books with the SideLits people, right, who we know and love. And so those books and my whole career kind of all go together. It really ties into just making the secondary classroom more accessible for all of our students and helping our teachers also feel comfortable and like they have efficacy and that they're meeting the needs of their students language wise and content wise. There's just so much. And so I started out as an alternatively certified teacher who I didn't have any classes, not a single course in education before I was assigned my fifth graders. So I started teaching before I started learning how to teach. And so I didn't have time for the books that are like this thick and talking about all the history and the Mr. So-and-so and the guy who said such and such. Like, I just need to know how I can make this grade level text accessible to my newcomers.
Yes.
So how am I going to do that? And I love the guy and I love his ideas. And later in my career, when I have some time, I'll sit down and get into like hows and whys and all that. But for now, I just need to know, how can I have my kids listen, speak, read, write, and engage with language in this different content area, right? Because it looks different in social studies than it does in science, and then it does in math, and it does in language arts. But in every place, we need to use language, right? And in every classroom, our students are bringing knowledge and gifts. We just have to figure out how to draw it out.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think why I love professional development and why I love the book series that I was able to create at SideLits is because I didn't love professional development when I was in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
And I had so many times that I was like, yes, but what about for my multilingual learners? Or especially what about for maybe my dually identified multilingual learners, right? What am I going to do for my kids who have more than one area that I need to be, serving them in? So those books have, they've made their way around the world. It's pretty cool. And it's so neat when I meet somebody who gets to, uses them that I don't even know about them being out there, because it just means like that they work. Like, it's just really about the strategies and getting them into teachers' hands, and also just honoring what teachers already do. And I think a lot of times we forget to do that. So especially ones who sign up and watch professional development in their free time on weekday evenings.
Yes, exactly. I love that you said that. You said so many like things
So
that
many
was like, but like professional learning that doesn't feel good or that doesn't like feel relevant. When I learn from you and when I pick up these books, these are like immediately applicable. And so when I bring these to workshops and I say like, I just want you to open it and just like flip through it. And the immediate response almost always is, oh, like a breath of relief, like because this is accessible, this tells me the what, right? It gives me immediate things that I can use right now. And like it's again, like I'm not gonna, it's not talking down to you, it's not saying like, well, let me tell you all of this theory. It's like, no, you got these kids in front of you, you're teaching this content area, here you go. Like here it is.
Exactly. And I love that. One of the things I tried to do throughout the series, because I wrote social studies by myself, John Seidlitz and I planned it together, but that one I was the only author on. And then I had co-authors for the other two, right? So for science, I got to work with Dr. Stephen Fleener. And for my math book, I got to work with Adrienne Mendoza. You're so good at this with the holding up the things. And one of the things that we were very intentional about was making sure that at least 3 or 4 at a minimum strategies overlapped in each book, so that the social studies teach, so I can do trainings with a full campus and we can all do the same strategies, but have books that have examples that are relevant to our content. Yes. But it's so good for our kids when they go from one classroom to another and we're using the same strategies and same ideas. So
yes. Absolutely. And see, and Dorina, everyone,
I was just about to talk about Dorina.
Oh, who we just love. She is like heart and soul.
I wish to prove that I was already going to talk about her before she commented, because I totally was. Because I was going to say, she also gave me a really good idea that I'm putting into practice that I've just started, but I haven't actually officially started yet. And she gave me the idea of, and I know other consultants do this, of substitute teaching on when we don't have training days. Yeah. Have you tried this? Have you done this yet?
No, I haven't.
I'm doing it. Of course, I'm doing it with districts where I already know people and, some that I've worked with before. And I haven't done my first days on campus yet, but it's just such a good idea, I think, for all of us to stay relevant. And especially right now, I'm not having, this year with all the funding issues, I'm not having nearly as much on-campus work where I get to actually be in classrooms. And I'm really, I can't do what I do if I'm not, sometimes in the room. So it's very important that we do that. So Dorina is the one who gave me the idea to do that. So I was already going to say that today before she showed up.
Yes, I love it.
I love it. It's almost like an undercover boss thing. Like one day you're on campus and you're, they don't know who you are. You're just a guest educator. But I could also have been on that campus as a consultant who was hired and, sat down with the principal and told them what I thought about how they were running their school. And I don't really do that, but I could. I know some people do that. But, I have the opportunity when I, do learning walks or I love doing PLC trainings where you're just in the room for like an hour. But without that opportunity, I was like, what, how can I stay relevant? And so, Dorina gave me the idea.
Yes. Oh, and I love that so much because our kids have changed, right? Like over the last few years, especially, like I keep having conversations with teachers. I'm sure you do too, right? Like post pandemic, our kids are different. Our kids
I
are very
fully
different.
say, just because I'm a completely independent consultant at this point, after it's been 2 years on my own, and so I'm very careful about what I say, but I also just really want people to understand that we've got to make space for all of these different perspectives and ideas, but at the same time, we don't have time for things that are not relevant and applicable to the current state of the world. And it doesn't serve us at all to pretend that circumstances are different than they are, because the reality is what our kids are living in. And we like to sometimes think that what happens outside the school isn't affecting the inside, and that's just not true. Like that is permeable, right? And so oh no, did I just drop?
Oh no, I can see you.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good. All right. So I'm just really excited about being back in the classroom. And the way that I've been saying it, like I was saying, it's kind of a little bit, is anyone who has not been in the classroom since the pandemic just needs to have a complete seat. They just need to sit all the way down and listen to everybody who's had to adjust and deal with the ways that we changed and the ways that we didn't, you know? And our newcomers today look different than they did 20 years ago. They always will. They're always going to be coming from different points in the world and places in the world that correspond to different conflicts and different, you know, and for lots of different reasons. We all know there are a lot of different push and pull factors for immigration. And so when we have newcomers in our classrooms, we can't do the same thing that we've always done. We're dealing with different kids in different times. So I think it's just so incredibly important. And that's why the resources, to stay relevant is what I mean. That's why those resources have basic structures for strategies and ideas. But outside of that, it can be any content, it can be any platform or technology or delivery system that you're using. We're just thinking, what are the steps to make this successful for human interaction? That's mostly what I'm doing.
Yes. And that's so important too, because I think, you know, teachers, we get into this business because we love kids, we love who we serve, but it is important for us to continually reflect and say, okay, what are some things that I need to, you know, maybe stretch myself with? Maybe this is a population that I am like, I'm not used to serving, or maybe our you know, our local demographics have changed a little bit and I feel a little bit overwhelmed and I don't feel equipped. So something you said earlier, like having teachers like have that sense of efficacy, like that's amazing. Again, nobody gets into this field because they want to harm kids, right? But I think sometimes we don't feel equipped all the time. In Illinois, we're seeing a lot of different programs pop up for EL endorsement courses, which is fantastic. But as I talk to teachers, you know, part of it is like, well, I do have a lot of the theory and the foundational knowledge, but I need to know, like, when I'm in the classroom and when these students are in front of me and I'm teaching this objective, how do I do this?
Exactly.
Like, how do I do this in a way that doesn't feel like separate? Like, here, Frankie, you're the newcomer. I have this little thing for you, but like that still feels inclusive. So I appreciate having this conversation about like kind of creating community in different content classrooms.
Yeah, and if you come at it from that perspective and just like what's best practices around just processing and retaining information, like the human brain, right? And so I spend a lot of time just focused on that. Why is it so important that our students are, you know, in a regulated emotional state? It's not just so like they feel good on the inside, it's so that their brains can retain information, because if you're in that place of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you cannot retain information. So we need to know that. We need to know that if our newcomers don't feel safe and they don't feel included, they cannot retain information. So it doesn't matter if you see my cat's making an appearance.
Yes, I love
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much your lesson design as if your delivery doesn't work with how the human brain works. And then you add in, you're doing this with adolescents mostly, because we're talking tonight mostly about secondary. I started in elementary, so I have experience with both. But in that secondary classroom where we see our newcomers come in who may have actually a lot of English knowledge and already just content knowledge, but it doesn't come out right at first, right? Because they're adjusting to their settings. And so you're not getting as much expressive as you are receptive, right? And so a lot of what we're focused on is just how can we have students feel like they're welcome and that they're not a burden, so that they can receive your information and so they can, you know, develop their academic language, but they're doing it at a time when they're going through the most awkward time of their human existence, right? Where everybody feels othered and weird. Like no teenager is like, I'm killing it, you know?
Exactly.
So trying to do that in a situation where, you know, you may have different levels of access to resources. And I'm thinking now, from my own perspective, having grown up in such a rural environment, I grew up in an incredibly isolated part of Texas where I only very rarely went to any of the major cities in Texas. I stayed mostly in my county and mostly with my family. And so in that isolated environment, even if you want to have access to other languages and cultures, it's incredibly difficult, right?
Yeah.
And so not every one of our newcomers comes to us as a globe-trotting, you know, whatever. Like a lot of our kids, I had a lot of kids who had come from incredibly small communities where Spanish wasn't even the primary language, right? Spanish was only used at school, and at home you're using whatever language predates the arrival of the conquistadors, right? And so, and the colonists and all the other things. So, and so in that situation, kids are now not just in a different language space, they're in a different world, right? On a different planet. So we've got to be cognizant of all of those challenges and the barriers to learning, and just know that our power is actually really limited. It's kind of freeing. I mean, it's a little nihilistic, but it's pretty freeing when you look at what are the descriptors of what a newcomer should be doing in the classroom. It's very little in terms of expressive. It's almost all about the receptive. So how are we making our classrooms a receptive place for everybody? Because the good news is, if it's somewhere that a kid from a totally different, like almost completely different world feels comfortable, then it's a place where your kid with learning differences feels comfortable. And the place where your kid who has, you know, maybe some physical challenges, or just has stuff going on in their home life, or just isn't sure they like have it all figured out, everybody does better in that classroom, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate too, like, just like the moment, right? Like acknowledging, you know, that our students are acclimating. Like that's a lot. They're acclimating not only like, you know, just the acclimation period alone. That's a lot. But doing it while you're an adolescent or while you're a teenager, that layers on, but also like the moment of what's, you know, just kind of happening in different communities. So the IRC, we are in the Chicagoland area. We serve across the state, but we can, you know, we're also seeing what's happening across the country. And there is a very real fear that a lot of students and the families we serve are like trying to navigate. And so I really appreciated what you said about like, you know, ensuring that we are building community, because if we are prioritizing that when students are with us and when we're doing, you know, this content area, or we're doing this lesson, if we are creating those conditions for students to feel safe, that is one part of their day that nobody can take away from them, that like this is their spot, this is their safe spot. And it doesn't take away all of the realities and the hardships and the real fear, but for maybe those 42 minutes, right, the students can, okay, I'm going to now lean in. I'm a little bit more able to lean into, you know, this content and this learning.
Exactly. Yeah, very well said. And I just want to take a second to acknowledge the teachers that are standing with our kids and with our communities right now, because, you know, if this happens at a different time, I am one of those teachers, you know, and I distinctly remember my first few years of teaching, I would have colleagues who would ask me, you know, well, which of your kids are undocumented, right? Because I can see in my stuff that they don't have social security numbers or whatever, but, you know, people would want to know, and I could just tell them to mind their own business, you know, and in the current situation, that doesn't fly anymore. Right. And I can't tell you how many stories I've read of teachers showing up to be guardians for their students when parents have been picked up, for just the work that educators are doing to stand in that gap, and showing up for kids. So I really especially wanted to highlight that today and just say thank you to all of the, you know, people who are doing behind the scenes and the people who are right out in front, and those of us who are trying to navigate, you know, this new landscape and not alienate people, but also not speak what's not true, right?
Yes.
How do we stay in that, you know, in that space? And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure to highlight tonight in our short, very casual time together, I just want to be clear, I don't normally in professional settings wear vintage t-shirts, but I wanted to celebrate the Melbourne Centennial today.
I love it.
You told me to be casual, so
yes, always.
But so it feels weird to talk about something so serious in a shirt that's so ridiculous. But I really want to have compassion for people who are just now becoming aware of the situation, or just now learning to appreciate multilingual learners. Sometimes it's hard when you're in a place of your knowledge and your understanding, when somebody else is a little bit further behind you, to be, you know, just patient sometimes for that gap. And so I know, as somebody who grew up without a lot of opportunity to see other perspectives and to appreciate, you know, other thoughts and mindsets, that sometimes when you're first presented with a new idea, it doesn't you actually reject it. Most people do.
Yeah.
That's the normal thing to do. Like new
Yep.
information causes cognitive dissonance and we reject it. And so
Right.
in this time where these issues cannot be ignored, when they are front and center and people can't just not care anymore because it's affecting them on a daily basis, a lot of people are being confronted with information that they didn't want to know. And now they have to make a choice. Now, the thing is, once they choose, then we get to act accordingly, right? And so when someone doesn't know any better, we can't expect them to do any better.
Right.
But once we have compassionately informed, right, and led by example and done it the right way and all these things, and remembered, you know, all the ideas about like hate can't drive out hate, only love can, right? That's not me or this Heron, that's Martin Luther King Jr., I think. But you know, we have to be the ones who do it, but it's also exhausting. It's so exhausting to do that work and to inform other people at the same time. And so the big message I wanted to bring tonight was just thank you to everyone who is doing that and who's showing it for kids and is also concerned about, and how am I going to help them learn this content at the same time, while I'm also trying to help them survive, you know, in this world. So
that's so true. And like, and just think about all the things that not only our students are carrying, but that, you know, all of our colleagues, our teammates, and, you know, folks who are walking around the school. We always laugh about like, you know, how much is on a teacher's plate, but it really is heavier than ever, right? Like the emotions, the realities, the scary headlines, the things that are happening in our own, you know, right outside of the steps of the schoolhouse in some cases. It is a lot. And so, you know, I think for educators who and leaders too who serve this community directly, so like the EL teachers, the bilingual teachers, the dual language teachers, like we are walking around carrying all of this. And so to be able to say, I'm carrying all of this and I'm also going to reach out my hand to support my teammates and help build up their understanding. It's so much, but like, you know, that's what makes, I think, our work and our roles so dynamic. Like as the ML teacher in your building or as the bilingual teacher on your grade level team, like the amount of impact that role has, holy cow, it's astronomical from the student lens, from the family lens, from the colleague lens, from the systems. Like it's an awesome responsibility, but it is also exhausting. And I appreciate Dorina is here in the comments, and she was sharing like even the compassion fatigue. And she's like the fear and the vicarious trauma and challenges. That is huge, huge, huge. And Dorina, actually, she has been one of my like top resources for navigating all of that, like especially during the pandemic when she started her YouTube series. That is one that I will often go back and revisit over and over and over again when all of the things get really, really heavy and I need to like check myself and do that reset. It's just so necessary.
And I'm so grateful for the community that exists among consultants where, you know, Dorina can know so much about this and be so helpful. And then I can be like, cool, I don't know all that stuff. I just know like sometimes kind of how the brain works a little bit like with this content piece, and these things go together, right? And so it's just so important that we meet the needs of our teachers in all the areas. So not just this instructional piece that I'm doing, but also what about taking care of themselves just as people?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's just so incredibly important. So I think that's really, you know, the last topic we wanted to touch on tonight was just trying to stay hopeful. And we're in that part of the year where everybody has the flu or some variation of it. And we're all, I mean, literally in my house, we all have the flu. This blush, this is not blush, friends.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's the germs. It's everybody's sick. And everybody's just like counting down the days for the next like day off and the next break.
But you know, there are so many reasons to be hopeful. And one of the things that I'm telling myself is knowing as much as I know about history and, you know, how timelines work and how things change over time, that going through a dark time and a hard time means theoretically we get a good time on the other side, right? And if we can just hang on for that and, you know, build as much community as we can and show compassion where we can, but also hold each other accountable. Like there's no place for willful ignorance anymore. Like you're either with it or you're not. And it's okay. It's okay if you don't know any better, but once you do, right? Like Dr. Maya Angelou said, you need to do better. So we're bringing our colleagues along as best we can. We're creating community as best we can for ourselves and our, you know, whatever that looks like for us in education. So if like you and me and Dorina is doing things like this, or, you know, for our grade level teachers, sometimes it just means working with, finding that one colleague who maybe isn't in your department, but is like-minded with you. And y'all don't need to teach the same content, because you can tell from the series of books, you can be using the same strategies and in different disciplines. So find your person who shares that spirit and that optimism, but it's also realistic, because that toxic positivity person, I can't with them right now. Like they need to be in a whole different lounge. They're not for me. But the person who's real, and I love, they're, you know, no offense to the community, but I need the person who's realistic.
Yes.
And I need the person who is like, this is what's happening, and here's what we're going to do about it. And here are the ways that we're going to try to take care of ourselves and our children and you know, and our other staff members and all of us.
Yes.
At the same time. And so I'm just so grateful that you provide opportunities like this for us to have this community, because I didn't know what to expect, but it's just been so nice tonight to just have this conversation with you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I think again, like the community, like we keep saying it, the community needs the community right now, like more than ever before. I feel like we said that a whole lot during the pandemic, and I think all of us are feeling it. So Jennifer also mentioned like the compassion fatigue is hitting hard. And looking at admin training for downstate districts. Yes. It is. It's really
awful. And I need better tools. Also, I need more training on this. Y'all, really the only thing that I'm doing, like one of the only things I'm doing is I don't have any social media, as most people know. Like you can go to my website. I promised I'm going to start a Facebook page again, but outside of that, I really don't do that. I go on Reddit and I go to this one subreddit that's just bonded pairs of cats cuddling. And I think everything that I'm doing on the internet is just looking at cuddling cats, because I just can't.
Yes. And Tina, I'm so glad you said that, because I will do trainings and I will say, we're going to set a timer for 60 seconds as teachers, as the adults. And we're going to watch this like manatee on the screen, just like floating. And we're going to watch it for 60 seconds.
Show me a duck and a dog that are friends. Like I just need.
Yes.
That's not enough, right? And
I know. But we need those breaks of like wholesomeness just to keep us like going. It's like there's a little, like I keep saying, like a boop, like a nose boop, but like a brain boop. We just need a little boop sometimes of just like, like a minute of calm to catch our breath. But like, again, the community all day.
Just remembering, and I don't know who said this one, but I'm going to attribute it to, I honestly, I heard it quoted by Elizabeth Warren. I don't know that she is the one who originated this idea, but the concept was just, not everyone in the choir is singing at the same time. Everybody takes breaths, right? But you just don't do it all at once. So take your breath when you need to. Instead of responding to an email, look at some bonded cats on Reddit. And know that somebody else is singing, you know, but also you got to start back. So, you know.
Yep. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. And I think that's like a beautiful thing for all of us to remember, because that compassion fatigue is so great. And because all of our hearts are very full and our minds are overwhelmed and our hearts are overwhelmed. But I love that, like giving ourselves permission to be human and like sit down and catch our breath. I feel like I have had the same conversation with so many folks lately, like it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to sit down for a second. Like it doesn't mean we're quitting. It doesn't mean we're stopping. It just means I need to like pause.
Well, and it's the only way that you can keep the water out of your boat. If you don't do that, you will drown. Like you will go down with the ship. So you do have to. I'm going to keep doing sessions and trainings and stuff while I have the flu, but I want everybody else to take a break.
Oh goodness. Oh, well, okay. So Tina, tell folks, So how can they connect with you? So you mentioned you're not on social media,
No,
but
I do still have a LinkedIn page, and I want more friends. So I would love for anybody to add me. And then I also am going to start a Facebook page in your honor, as we talked about. And I'm not going to commit to doing any more than that. But on my website, you can just email me. It's tina@tinabeene.org. Or on the website, there's a form you can fill out, and I'll contact you. And we'll be friends, or I'll come to your district and show you these cool strategies, and also that subreddit of the cats cuddling.
yes, yes, yes. And friends, if you have not picked up these books, you need to. You add to cart. So teaching math to English learners, teaching science to English learners, teaching social studies to English learners. I mean, y'all, everybody needs these on their bookshelf. The like I said, and I'm not even exaggerating. If you're watching and you like, if I was in your district recently, you can attest to this. I bring these to every secondary training I go to, even if like the content area, even if it's not like the subject of our work. I'm like, I'm gonna pass these around because y'all need to open these.
I've been having the best luck with, thank you so much for telling me that. I've had the best luck finding my book in the wild lately, because I've been doing some consulting for WIDA and doing some virtual sessions for them. And so I signed on with the woman from Alabama who's, one of the state leaders for multilingual learners. And she's like, oh, here's the math book. I use it all the time, the one of the things I wanted to say really quickly that we didn't talk about earlier, total sidebar, just random fun fact. When we're talking about how populations change, I wanted to highlight the fine folks of Maine who are dealing with a really interesting situation right now, where their multilingual learner population has swung rapidly from a mostly Somali population to a Spanish-speaking population. And when that happens in your community, it's signaling not just linguistic but also cultural shifts, and for our states and communities that are experiencing that, I want to encourage you to reach out. Even if you think you may not have so much in common with somebody from a different part of the country, there's somebody out there who's dealing with something very similar to that. Right?
Totally. Absolutely. Oh, that's so cool. I like, always gets my little like linguistic heart. Like,
and their multilingual learner population in Maine is growing like 15% to 20% every year. And so we've got to have community. They need to be talking to states like our border states where we've, been working on this for 20 years, or somewhere like, resources with y'all. It's so wonderful that you provide this and allow us to stay connected.
Yes. We really need each other. Like all of us as teachers. Tim is in the house. Tim, we love you and adore you and appreciate you. See, I love this. And so Valerie asked, will you drop the links to those? I will absolutely drop the link to each of these books.
You should put in a link to Sidelets, because you can order the books from Sidelets. You can get trainings from Sidelets. If you want me to be the trainer, you have to contact me directly. But if you just want to buy the books, or you just want to get the training from them, you can absolutely do that. I won't be there to deliver the jokes, but the content will still be awesome.
Awesome. But y'all, Tina is the absolute best. You can see she's like the real deal. She's a teammate. She's a colleague. She gets it. And she's like just brilliant and just so approachable. Like, you're so full of brilliance, but you're so approachable. And that's what I really appreciate about you. Like, I'm like, I was so intimidated the first time I met you. I was like, oh, that's Tina Beene. Oh, that's Tina Beene. That's Tina Beene. And you were just so kind and gracious. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is so cool. So if y'all, Tina's the real deal. Like, hit her up, get her in your school.
Please do. And I've also, now that Tim is in the comments also, I've also been working some with Saddleback with Tim. So if you are a Saddleback person, you can get training with me through them as well.
Awesome. And Tim, I was so funny. So I'm going into a district tomorrow, and I'm doing math and science work. So I'm bringing these bad boys. But Tim, you'll appreciate this. I had a Saddleback webinar, the one with Stephen Fleener doing the structured visuals. And that's one of my go-to links, is that Saddleback webinar. I'm always like, cue it up. It's like 24:10, I think, is the starting point, because I use it a lot. I use that clip a lot. So Tim, you'll appreciate that. We love Saddleback. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out. And Tina, thank you for being so wonderful and kind and gracious and for coming and joining on tonight's episode. I just adore you and I appreciate you so, so much.
Yes, friend. Thank you. I can't wait to see you again, hopefully soon.
Yes. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.